What if the thing that was holding you back isn't actually caring about what other people think about you, but believing that their limitations are yours? Hi, I'm Karen Kelly, skin therapist, master educator, wellness enthusiast, and professional overthinker who decided to journal publicly. Every week on my blog, I explore everything from skincare and science to life mindset and the messy middle of finding your voice. This channel is where all of those thoughts come to life. So grab your tea, get comfortable, and let's talk about why starting this YouTube channel was the most audacious thing I've done for January. On January 19th, I published a blog about Audacity and Delulu, and it's almost February at the time of recording this, and I've had some chance to actually live and action some of the things that I wrote down specifically for January. And let me tell you, there's a huge difference between writing about doing something bold and actually doing it. So today I want to have a real conversation about what I mean when I say Audacity and Delulu, why it matters, and how working through the process has already changed my life. For years, I thought my problem was that I cared too much about what other people thought, which is why I was actioning what it is I wanted to do for my life. In doing the work, what I actually realized is that's not it. I actually don't care much about what people think. What I was doing was way more subtle and a lot more damaging. I looked at how people treated me in specific situations, especially moving here in Canada, whether I was dismissed or overlooked or underestimated. I internalized that treatment and turned their behavior into specific rules for myself. When someone either made me feel or told me in very direct words that I was too much, or how I'm working and acting, I'm very intimidating, all of that, I didn't look at it and say, well, that sounds like a you problem. I actually internalized it to say, well, I needed to be less. If I was overlooked for opportunities, rather than say, well, y'all really missed out here, I then thought,
well, maybe I don't have this, so I need to do this, and I need this other qualification, I need this, blah, blah, blah.
I was taking other people's discomfort and making it into a truth about myself, and then their limitations became my boundaries. That was the trap that I was in. I was in it for years, and I didn't even realize that I was in that trap until I started to do the work over the last 18 months or so. Now, I just want to pause here and say, if some of my longtime friends even happen across this video, they're going to look at me and think, who are you talking about? You, KK? Nah, because I wasn't always like this. But there's something about moving to Canada as a single parent, switching industries, switching careers, dealing with the barrier of not having Canadian experience, and as a result, needing to start from scratch. So for example, essentially, professionally, I'm 18 years old in Canada. All of the experience that I had before, it didn't matter. My resume was essentially white. Control, Alt, Delete. And then survival mode kicks in. You're struggling to make ends meet, you're in a new space, so you pretty much end up doing whatever you need to do to keep your head above water and just keep moving forward. And you're not trying to cause too much problems, you're not trying to stand out too much, and that's really hard when you not only have a unique perspective, your experience is very different because you're coming in from not only another country, but you're from another industry altogether. And then of course, you have a different accent. So how do you not stand out? So the end result was me ending up making myself smaller in the process. For a long time, I felt uncomfortable in my skin and I knew something had to change. But when you're in it, you don't really have the mental capacity to say,
I really understand what's going on and I need to do this and I need to tilt my sails this way.
You can't really process that math. Over the last year or so working on the blog, I was able to prioritize my mental health and I had more time to breathe. And in that process, it's dawned on me that I really fundamentally don't care what people think about me. I never did. I never had to before in my life. But what I was doing was taking on other people's limitations based on knowing nothing about me whatsoever, having their preconceived notions and making them my own. And that needed to change. Now, I want to be absolutely clear about what Audacity and Delulu means to me. Because even in having these conversations with some of my friends, I realized that what I mean and what you might hear on social media are two different things. The latter leans more into stupid and delusional That's not where I'm at. This message really isn't for unqualified experts or the social media cosplayer or person hopping from viewpoint to viewpoint based on likes and engagements and whatnot. And I'm not knocking it. That's just not what I'm talking about. This message is for people who've done the work, who have the experience, and who for some reason are just constantly being overlooked or dismissed. So it's for the overqualified and underestimated, and not the underqualified and overconfident. Now, understanding the difference between audacity and delusional is one thing, but actually stepping into it is where the real journey began. So what started everything? Well, about 18 months ago, I made a commitment to myself to journal publicly. This meant one post a week, and as someone whose mind is constantly going, it's not really if I'm thinking about anything, it's pretty much what I'm thinking about at any point in time. So journaling has always been a practice that's helped me greatly. As much as journaling helps me with a lot going on, it's hard to stick to journaling sometimes. So I decided I'm going to launch a blog, and I'm also going to create an Instagram account that goes along with the blog that pretty much talks about what's happening on the blog every week. This is something that's public. And as a type A person who's given myself a goal, I always want to make sure that I stick to it. So that really helped me with my journaling journey. And that helped me show up every week, find my voice, and started the transformation for everything. Finding my voice again, reconnected with my worth, reconnecting with my value, learning the difference between being liked, which is not necessarily something I aspired to before, but it's something that I fell into here in Canada, and being valued, and then realizing that I was chasing the wrong thing. The surprise benefit I really didn't expect. My nervous system is so much calmer now. Do I get anxious? Do I overthink? Absolutely. It's just who I am. When you get out of the habit of constantly monitoring yourself, constantly editing yourself, the gap between living where you are and where you think you should be, that narrows. And in that narrowing, you have a lift of this emotional tax where you just get to be yourself. And that alone has been worth everything. So back in December, I knew I wanted to do something different for 2026. Every year I have a theme. For my year, last year was joy, which I realized I couldn't really do without healing my nervous system. And so this year, I decided that this year was going to be the year of audacity and delulu. So in December, I knew I needed a worksheet. I put some questions together. It goes through celebrating. It was something that I really wanted to commit to, which is why I physically wrote it down. And here's the thing. Writing the stuff in January when I was in December was challenging enough. But now in January, ticking off those things, seeing things come to life, like creating the YouTube channel, which, hello, this is literally what you're seeing me do right now. Really focusing on growing and becoming the human being that I want to be, and less tussling with how I need to show up for somebody else, needing to prove my worth. And then also realizing I don't even have to have these conversations with these people at all. This may not sound huge, but those small steps were really, really big for me. Now, let me be real. I am doing the work, but it is still very terrifying. It is quite exhilarating sometimes, but I still have to go through the tunnel. There are definitely some moments where the voice pops up.
Who do you think you are? You're not ready, or you're not as prepared. Even in filming this, well, maybe I should prepare a little bit more.
So I still have those things that come up, but the great thing about it is that I push through and I do it anyway because I have a goal that I want to achieve. In the process, sometimes I think as well,
why didn't I do this sooner?
So the messy truth is failing upward is something that I've seen so many people around me do, and giving myself the opportunity to do just that is a really amazing thing. So the whole point is feeling the fear, acknowledging it, doing it anyway, and it's really a practice that you just continue to do. What I've learned in the process, showing up as your actual self is a form of wellness. It is a wellness practice, not just like an empowerment slogan. Showing up, being yourself, not performing, that's when your body registers the state that's in as being safe. And that matters a lot. So think about it. If you're constantly monitoring yourself, editing your words, shrinking down, code switching, your nervous system is at a high all the time. It's exhausting. And when you finally start to let yourself be, you can actually relax. And here's where it gets interesting. Calming your nervous system, allowing your body and your mind mind to realize that you are in a safe space, so many other things in your life change as well. Better sleep, clearer skin, more energy, more focus on the things you actually want to achieve, actually feeling joy, actually pursuing things that bring you joy. All of this is not separate from mindset work. They are connected. When your nervous system calms down, everything else starts to shift as well. When you're actually going through the process and doing the work, you realize this is not a woo-woo kind of situation. It's really how your body works. We think nervous system, mind, skin as separate things, but it's all connected. It's by shifting one thing, everything else shifts as well. So here's what I want to ask you. What would you do or go after if you weren't carrying around everybody else's either expectations or limitations? Like, what dreams do you have that you've been sitting on, waiting for permission that will never come? I know I can't be the only one who's thinking like this, just based on the conversations I've had over the last month or so with my friends, or comments or people who've reached out to me based on the blog. Here's your reminder. That whole narrative that says you need to be smaller or quieter or less, that was never about you. That was about making other people comfortable. You don't have to carry that anymore. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing that you are ready to go after in 2026? What's your next audacious move? It could be a massive thing that you're just going to break down in month by month. It could be a small win that you want to achieve that's going to make a huge difference in how you move forward with the rest of your life. And this is just the beginning. I'm going to keep showing up here. I'm going to be sharing more of my journey, the wins, the messy parts, all of it. Next week, I'll be diving into how the nervous system healing completely transformed my life. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Check out the blog. I'll link the one related to this topic below. Till next time, stay radiant and be well. I'll see you in the next one.